Welcome to the worst of the best podcast. You wanted the best. Well, they didn't freaking make it. So here's what you get. From Canada, Ryan and
Jason. Welcome to another episode of the Worst of the Best podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and with me, returning back. He's back from his travels, back from abandoning the show. No, we're just kidding. Jason, my brother, is back. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Ryan, for having me back on your show.
Our show, my show, your show. You're my primary co-host, but yes, when you're busy with life, what have you, and there's other people I've got to collaborate with, other great podcast hosts, and I appreciate those guests who came on. We had Trucker Andy, Carl, Annie, Christian, and Kaylee, and they were all great with different topics. And we're gonna have a couple more guest hosts coming up. In fact, Jason, the time of this recording, my next recording was with an old friend of mine, also named Jason, who I used to work with in the military. We're covering an Iron Maiden album, so it's coming out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's the Iron Maiden's 1983 Peace of Mind. It's incredible. It's actually an incredible album.
It's an incredible band.
Yeah,
they really are an incredible band and highly talented.
I'm listening to this album track after track, like, holy crap. And they were in their 20s. Bruce was 24. So the oldest member is like 29. He's the drummer. It's like, wow.
That was 83, and they're still doing stuff.
Yeah. Should have seen them in 83 when I could afford them. Yeah, the irony, the bands are in their prime when you can afford them, and now they're legacy acts. There's no shame in that, but, when you go for 50 years, you become a legacy act. So we also want to speak to Jason's microphone. Just before we went live, Jason, your microphone was, I guess, damaged. You couldn't get it to connect or something.
Somehow the USB connection on the microphone got crushed. I have no idea how, and I cannot get the USB into it, so I am now having to buy a new microphone, and I did not know that until I turned on the computer. So apologize for the lack of a proper mic or a better sound, but that's what we're dealing with. And next show, I will have a better microphone.
It is what it is. It's just life. But it's funny. I listen to other, podcasts, and whatever podcast is, let's say it's Smartless or Fly on the Wall. Let's say there's a couple that I kind of enjoy. They'll interview a celebrity. They'll have a celebrity on their show. And the celebrity who's like worth millions, they probably have done an interview before or seen them. But I'm always amazed about a celebrity who has millions of dollars who doesn't have a proper mic setup. So, Jason, you're in the same realm as some of these celebrities with millions of dollars who sound just like you.
Right. Yes.
It's like an hour and a half interview.
Or some guy goes on to like a news network. You sound like you're in a tin can. You don't have a proper setup. Audio, I know as a podcast and a video, they always say audio is more important than the picture. I do feel bad that I'm dropping the ball on this, but it literally did not know my USB would not fit into my microphone. How, where, when that thing decided to break, I have no idea, because the USB should just fit. It will not fit.
Blackout drunk one day, Jason, tore up your room, destroyed your room, like a rock star. All right, so the show must go on. We'll move forward. Today's an interesting topic. I think it's an interesting topic, Jay. We're going to talk about
historical coincidences.
People are like, what are you guys talking about? When we share the stories, you're going to be like, I can't believe this incident happened at the same time or the same date. And you'll understand as the stories go on. These things are so rare that it goes beyond being struck by lightning, winning the lottery. Let's get right into it. The first story, Jay. Just being a twin or an identical twin on top of that is very rare. So, Jason, how many personal identical twins do you know?
Yeah, I think of one maybe when I was in elementary school, Mark and Mike.
There you go. Sure.
I think they were identical. I can't even remember now at this point if they were or not. I just know there was twins.
I have twins, and my wife actually has siblings that are twins, but they're both fraternal. They're not even identical. So the point I'm trying to say is just being a twin. So let alone knowing a twin set, being that identical twin is very rare. March 5th, 2002, so just 22 years ago in Finland, an eerie tragedy befell a pair of 70-year-old identical twins. So they were 70. They lived a semi-full life at least. Early that day, Jay, Kalevi, one of the twins, was cycling along a rural road when a truck struck him, killing him instantly. Okay, horrible. That's terrible. Truck hit him so hard and so fast that the 7-year-old man died. Fair enough. Just hours later, his brother Ramo was also cycling along the same road about a mile away when he too was fatally hit by a truck. The uncanny similarity of their deaths shocked, of course, the local community and left their family devastated, as you can imagine. Adding to the surreal nature of the event, Jay, the family hadn't even yet been notified about Khalivi's death when Ramo's accident occurred. So the likelihood of two such events happening independently on the same day is so minuscule that it's left experts in disbelief. If you were to make a bet of how you're going to go in life, what would you ever come up with this scenario where you and your identical twin would be hit by trucks on the same road within hours of each other? What are the odds of this, Jay?
I don't think you could even put odds on that. Number one, to die on the same day.
Yes.
Let alone the same road and the same form of transportation. I mean, there's so many variables.
There are too many variables.
If they were the same car, they got hit by a train or, together.
That still would have been crazy odds had they been in the same car accident at the same time. That still would have been like, oh, it's crazy. They both died in a car accident together. But the fact they were at separate locations, but on the same road. Same vehicle, truck. I don't know if the story said it was the same truck driver. Maybe he had a vendetta against these twins. He struck one and then went to the other one.
Be curious what the brand of truck it was. Was it like a Ford? Like both trucks were Fords, or both? I mean, I don't know what they drive in Finland. What was this? Finland? I don't know what they drive in Finland.
I mean, terribly funny, terribly of course, the poor families. But you got to wonder at the funeral if anyone kind of chuckled. If anyone was like, this is crazy. As tragic as it was, I wonder if there was dialogue, even at the funeral, what the odds are, too. Like if there's even a joke, or maybe they had a sense of humor about it. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's laugh or cry in these situations.
Fortunately for us, we're not connected to them, so I guess we can have a little bit of a chuckle. But for the family, what a way to find out everything.
Well, they're saying here that the family had yet to be notified of the one death when the other one happens. It was so close in time together that the one tragedy happened. Probably police were on the scene, investigation. They don't notify the next of kin until they kind of get everything. Like they don't just call right away. Hey,
they want to make 100% sure that this is a good chance.
Was it murder?
Even to find the ID to confirm that the person that got hit is actually. Yeah.
He's just riding his bike. How many people have their wallet when they're just going for a bike ride on them? He might not have had any ID on him. The family was wholly unaware. You can imagine they get a phone call, but then 3 hours later, they're going to get another phone call. This is what I'm getting at about the other twin. Insane story.
Dude, they're 70.
Yeah. So they kind of led a foolish.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they weren't 10-year-old twins. Let's just say that they were kids. They were, had a semi-full life. For the worst pick, for me, what it's going to be, maybe the least mind-blowing. That's kind of what I'm going towards.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be tragic. It's not going to be the one that's the most heartbreaking. It might just be the one that's like, maybe odds.
The least amount of odds. Yeah. The one that has the least amount of odds.
Okay. Big one to start with. Jay, you got the next one.
I have to apologize. I do not know this actor, Josh Ryan Evans. Are you familiar with him, Ryan, at all?
During our research, I did Google him. In the movie How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey, he played the young Grinch in school. Remember when he was getting teased and bullied in school? He was the child actor that played the young Grinch in that movie. Yes.
He's also in a soap opera, Passions, which I'm not familiar with. I've never heard of that one before. But he died on August 5th, 2002 at the age of 20, so very young. Evans had achondroplasia, a rare condition that stunted his growth, giving him a childlike appearance despite his adulthood.
The Webster actor type.
Right, yeah. So on the same day, Passions aired an episode where his character, Timmy Lennox, tragically died. Evans had charmed audiences with his performance, was undergoing critical heart surgery when he passed. The eerie coincidence of his real-life death mirroring his character's fate on television deeply saddened his fans and colleagues. He dies on the same day that his character dies in the TV show.
This is what I mean. These quizzes, we're not laughing at of course he has family and friends. I mean, this was 22 years ago. Life has moved on, unfortunately. But actually, funny enough, same year that twins died was 2002 as well. Funny enough, both tragedies. Has that ever happened before? Where a character's death and the person playing that character died the same day? The character he plays died on the TV episode aired, Thursday at 3 p.m. That same Thursday, the actor playing him. There's probably nurses in the hospital watching Passions in the break room, when the actor is in the same hospital, dies. They probably got for Josh Ryan Evans, Cold Blue. I'm like, no, it's just his character on TV. No, he's. Oh boy, these are mind-blowing historical coincidences. Okay, this one's fascinating. This one's a little less tragic per se, other than the fact that JFK was killed. Maybe this was tragic. This was November 22, of course, 1963. It's remembered as a day of mourning for multiple reasons. It was on this date that, yes, John F. K. was assassinated in Dallas, Texas by the American government. I mean, by the lone gunman. My apologies. Starting conspiracy theories here. A moment that shocked the world and led to widespread grief and conspiracy theories. Have we not done a JFK one yet? I almost feel like everyone just knows them now. Do we do one on that?
We haven't done it.
But I feel like everyone kind of knows the major ones. Just go watch JFK, the movie. I think I've said it before on this podcast, but JFK, directed by Oliver Stone, starring Kevin Costner. It was actually that film when I saw it in the theaters when I was young, 15, right? 14, whatever, young teen. I saw this movie in the theaters. It didn't even occur to me before then. I was naive. I admit, I was young, right, 14. Yeah. I was like, government never lies. Commercials tell the truth. I believed that. That was the world I lived. It didn't even occur to me. What, they altered Lee Harvey Oswald's picture? They photoshopped that and all this stuff and the magic bullet theory. How can the bullet do 5 different directions? And I'm like, oh, the government can lie to us? It blew my mind.
What do you mean by that, Ryan?
Sorry, that was probably a bad example. However, Jason, on that same day, 2 literary giants also passed away on the same day. C.S. Lewis, author of the Chronicles of Narnia, and Aldous Huxley, best known for Brave New World. Both men were influential thinkers, shaping literature and philosophy in their own unique ways. So on the same day that JFK got shot and killed, C.S. Lewis died. That's a pretty big name.
Both of them are big names.
Yeah. Did you know somebody else died when Michael Jackson died?
I'm sure when you tell me, I'll remember.
I'd be surprised if anyone listening, about 10 listeners, if anyone who's listening, I'll be surprised if anyone knows the name, but if I tell you the name, you'll know exactly who this person is. Michael Jackson died. I don't know the exact date, but we all know he died. Like when he died, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Michael Jackson's dead." Yeah. Farrah Fawcett died the same day.
Wow,
isn't that crazy? But nobody talks about that.
Yeah, no.
Some people probably forget she's dead.
I think I might be one of those. Has she really been dead that long?
Yeah, she died when Michael died.
Wow.
So that's what I mean. So can you imagine that even back in 63? I wonder what the news rotation was like, because even then there was no bottom scrolling graphics.
Right, the ticker tape.
Yeah, so it would have been very kind of like, oh, and by the way, C.S. Lewis, beloved author, is also dead. Like it would have been really buried because JFK, let's be honest, that was huge news.
Of course.
Okay, yeah, fascinating. So there you go. The same day, C.S. Lewis also passed away, and so did Aldous Huxley for Brave New World. Okay, Jay, you've got number 3.
On March 12th, 1951, 2 mischievous characters named Dennis the Menace made their debut on opposite sides of the Atlantic.
So we all know Dennis the Menace, that cartoon character. He had the slingshot.
Yeah, of course.
Hugged his neighbor. This comic named Dennis the Menace was released the same day on 2 sides of the world.
Is that why we have pyramids around the world? Like there's just like competing cultures and we just don't, there's a pyramid in Mexico and there's pyramids that dot the earth, but there's no communication amongst these people, but they're all seen to be building pyramids.
There's a lot of examples of this, and this is what's crazy about this. This is an example
yes.
of that. There is something in the universe psyche where you just have 2 separate individuals coming up with the same thing, but not just that, Jay, released the same day.
Yeah. So in the US, cartoonist Hank Ketchum introduced a blonde, freckle-faced troublemaker in overalls. Meanwhile, in the UK, David Law unveiled his own Dennis in the Beano comic, a spiky-haired prankster in a red and black striped sweater. Despite their shared name and similar traits, neither creator had any knowledge of the other's work. Remarkably, both comics launched on the exact same day, leading many to believe it was a bizarre coincidence. Over time, both versions of Dennis became cultural icons in their respective countries, representing different kinds of childhood mischief while remaining entirely unrelated in origin. Bizarre.
So we got Hank and then David. So David in the UK and Hank in the US. Hank's like, I got to think of a kid. He's a problem in the neighborhood. What rhymes with menace? That's probably what it was. Dennis rhymes with menace, but both artists were thinking of a character that causes a problem in the neighborhood. They're both different. The one, Dennis the Menace in the UK, he has black hair, and the Dennis the Menace in the US has blonde. But
both are Dennises.
They're both a menace in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Remarkable. These are remarkable and fun. Okay. Now, Jason, we're back to tragedy. We had a little bit of fun with the last one, Jay, but we're back to tragedy. You ready? You've heard of Theodore Roosevelt, of course. Can you imagine this day, Jason? February 14, 1884 was a day of unimaginable sorrow. Just 2 days earlier, on February 12th, Theodore's wife, Alice, gave birth to their daughter. It's wonderful. They were still celebrating the joyous occasion when Theodore Roosevelt received devastating news. Both his mother and his wife, Martha, had fallen gravely ill. He rushed home, arriving just in time to witness his mother's death from typhoid fever in the early hours of Valentine's Day. So now we're on February 14th. So he gets news, hey, my mom's ill. So he rushes home, gets to say goodbye to his mom, and she dies. So he's like, bye, Mom. Love you. And okay. Just a few hours later, his wife then dies to kidney failure, which was undiagnosed during her pregnancy.
Yeah.
Grief-stricken, Roosevelt marked the day in his diary with a solitary X and the words, quote, "The light has gone out of my life."
Yeah. Wow.
So the mother that raised him and the woman that he chose to spend his life with dead.
And on Valentine's Day.
Can you imagine?
February 14th, like of all the days.
So this double loss profoundly shaped Roosevelt's life, pushing him to seek solace in the wilderness and eventually fueling his legendary political career. So this happened before his big career in politics. So wasn't he called like a teddy bear in his own right? Wasn't that his nickname? Teddy?
The reason they bring up the wilderness stuff is he did the national parks, and conservation was a big part of his legacy, I suppose.
So he spent time in the military. He died at the age of 60, which is so, I know it's probably old back then, maybe, but it's just so young now.
That is young. Even from back then, that's young.
He did remarry, of course, and he ended up having 6 kids altogether. So he was president of the United States from 1901 to 1989. So he was president 7 years later. Wow. To his credit, he has this big tragedy, remarries, becomes president of the country. That's amazing, eh?
Yeah.
Impressive.
He died at what year, Ryan?
1909. He died while he was in office.
I did not know that.
Because, he was in office of 01 to 09. And he died. Oh, sorry, my bad. He died in 1919. Sorry, he died 10 years out of office. My bad. And at the age of 60. I read the 1 and the 9 wrong. Okay. All right. Good for him. Obviously, a horrible, horrible day, if you can imagine that happened on that day. And if you look at the pictures online, he's a handsome feller, actually. Look at some of his older pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a strapping young man. Good for him. He was a cattler. He was a woodsman. Wow. They don't make men like that anymore, do they, Jay? Not like that.
There's not many around.
No. I'm not one of them. So, all right, Jay, number 6, I believe we're already at number 6. Yeah.
On January 1st, 2016, European copyright law brought 2 profoundly different works into the public domain. Anne Frank's The Diary of a Young Girl and Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf. Frank's diary offers a deeply moving account of her life in hiding from the Nazis, providing a personal perspective on the horrors of the Holocaust. In stark contrast, Mein Kampf lays out Hitler's hateful ideology, which led to the very atrocities Frank documented. Both authors died in 1945, marking 2016 as the year the works became freely available. The simultaneous release sparked debate as some feared the spread of Hitler's dangerous ideas, while others emphasized the need to remember history's darkest moments through Frank's words. The juxtaposition of these 2 works underscores the stark differences between victim and oppressor during one of history's most harrowing times.
They died the same year, too. So that's what a weird thing, too, that they both died same year. And both their works that are obviously very popular for different reasons. Everyone's heard of both of these works. You can't be at our age in life, Jason, and not hear both works and both names. So isn't that crazy that both died the same year and both of their works became publicly available at the same day of the same year? What are the odds of that?
Yeah, I would suspect very low. In such opposite ends of the spectrum, like they say, oppressor and victim.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some sort of equal thing that would be during the printing press days where we could have this example of something on one side so starkly. The one exists because the other exists, essentially, and both are sort of voices to the cause, right? Both are voices to the journey of the people going through this, to the person who created it, right? So you have these 2 voices. Yeah, do you burn every copy of Hitler's book? No.
It's a historical record of the individual. Do we burn records of Genghis Khan or other people who terrorize large portions of the world? I mean, it's not like you could put the genie back in the bottle after things have occurred. Yeah. We don't pretend history doesn't happen. It's either, does that really help?
No, of course not. I think you have to have the bad to educate people, because somebody else will create something else, right? You have to almost say, no, you can't do that. That comes from this thing here. You have to have a kind of the example of where we don't want to go again, but you have to have that example, or else people are like, what are you talking about? I'm doing fine. Say, no, that kind of thought, that kind of ideology leads to this, and that led to this. So stop what you're writing. Stop doing that thing, because it leads to things that were really harmful. Yeah, you have to keep the bad history to remind people not to go there again.
Why did something happen?
Yeah, don't be a painter. That's what I learned about Hitler. Okay, Jay, the next one. Stephen Hawking. You ever heard of him?
Was he one of the people that went to Epstein Island?
Was he on the list? Yeah. Did they have wheelchair access for him?
Yeah, they did. It's like, the big transportation planes that they roll out the back.
His body might be non-responsive, but his mind's still a man. You know what I mean? I like what I see here, Jeffrey. Bring me your brightest. Okay, so Stephen Hawking was one of the greatest scientific minds of our time, and he was born January 8, 1942. This is fascinating. He was born 300 years to the day after the death of Galileo. Known for his groundbreaking work in theoretical physics, particularly his theories on black holes and Hawking radiation, Hawking's life was marked by extraordinary achievements despite his diagnosis of ALS at the age of 21. Remarkably, Hawking then passed away on March 14th, 2018, which coincides with the birthday of another significant giant, Albert Einstein. So these cosmic connections aligning Hawking with two of history's most renowned scientists seem fitting for a man who reshaped our understanding of the universe. His life and work bridged centuries of scientific discovery, leaving a legacy that will inspire future generations. So this one's not that crazy, but it is in a weird way. Like, he was born 300 years after Galileo, and then he died on the same date of Albert Einstein. Here's where it's unique, is that if I was born 300 years up to Galileo and then died on Einstein's birthday, people would be like, yeah, so what's the connection?
Yeah, there's no connection.
Oh, that's neat. He died on Albert Einstein's birthday. That's neat. Yeah, but is that crazy that Ryan... I don't get what you're saying. Like,
it doesn't matter. I barely could use a calculator, let alone have any connection with these type of people.
That is unique. That's interesting. It's not as crazy as the twins getting struck by Get It, but that's still unique enough to make our list, Jay, I think. All right. You got absolutely. One, too. It's a little bit lighthearted. You've got another one here.
In 1945, William Billy Cyanis, a diehard Chicago Cubs fan, brought his pet goat, Murphy, to Game 4 of the World Series at Wrigley Field. When fellow spectators complained about the goat's odor, Cyanis and his pet were ejected from the stadium. Outraged, Cyanis reportedly cursed the team, declaring that they would never win another pennant. Over the decades, the Cubs suffered numerous near misses and heartbreaking losses, with fans attributing their misfortune to the curse of Billy Goat. On October 22nd, 2016, exactly 46 years after Cyanis' death, the Cubs finally won the National League pennant, ending a 71-year drought. They went on to win the World Series that year, lifting the curse in dramatic fashion and bringing joy to their long-suffering fans.
That's funny. What I love about this story is, this is what makes it a coincidence, because had the goat not existed and this quote-unquote curse never been done by William, this bad luck of streak for the Cubs still would have happened.
Yes.
I don't believe there's anything mystic happened here, but the problem is it did happen. Like, we have, first off, I love how this guy brings his, what do you call those animals? They're supposed to therapy animal to the game.
Oh,
even in 1941. Support animal. Yeah. So 1945, William brings his support goat to the game. I kind of wonder what was the deal with his goat. Is he bringing his date to the game? Like, did he have to buy a seat for the goat?
And what year was that he did this?
45. I
mean, you would think by 1945, you wouldn't bring those type of animals around.
They did let him in with the goat, but it was a weird time still, Jay. Yes, you had the automobile, but still, like, telephones weren't even common necessarily. It was that weird time between farm and industrial kind of mixing together. So,
and that's the year that Anne Frank and Hitler died, 1945.
Oh, wow, what a year. Oh, he needed his comfort animal because Anne Frank had passed away. Yeah, he brings his comfort animal to the game. He gets kicked out because the goat stinks. I love it, and that's fair. The guys bought seats to watch the game, and your goat's in the way and farting.
Goats do stink,
and they probably peed on that. Like it must have.
Yeah,
peed.
they stink. Yeah, they do smell like urine.
He's all upset about it, and he curses. Well, I curse you in this franchise. And anyways,
where did somebody hear the curse? Was it like as he's being escorted out? Did somebody just like he cursed us, and then that
it became a thing? Because at what point do they do fans go? You remember 2 years ago when that guy cursed our field?
Yes,
it becomes 3 years, 10 years.
I knew of the curse. I didn't know the origin of the curse. I never bothered to find out. Did you know what the origin of the curse was? I mean, I've always heard of the curse, but
I didn't know it came from the goat. I didn't come from the.
I didn't know. Yeah, the origin of that curse.
Yeah,
I just thought it was a curse because they hadn't won. But the Canucks have a curse. Vancouver Canucks for the.
Oh, I know. I almost feel bad for them. They've had a couple. They've been to the finals twice, I think. Well, I know with Boston.
Yeah.
I think
aren't they like one of the longest running teams to have not won?
They're getting there. I think even the Vegas Knights have a cup now. They've been. Oh, that's gonna sting the GMs of Vancouver. You got the Vegas Knights are in for 5 years or 4 to 5 years, and they have a cup already. Like they can sit on that for 30 years, man.
Yeah.
I am with my cup win of 1993, and I don't care. I'll go to the grave knowing that I was there when Montreal hoisted the cup. I know it's in my memory banks. I was old enough to appreciate it, understand it. Yeah, I'm happy. Okay, the next one, Jay, is the this one's interesting. We're going back in time again. Another presidential stuff here. July 4th, 1826. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. Now, this I did not know. This is crazy. Two of America's most influential founding fathers shared a complex relationship, moving from collaboration to rivalry and back to friendship, kind of like Biden and Trump. Boy, Biden sure was happy. I've never seen him so happy. Why was he so happy? So now back to John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. So both were central to drafting the Declaration of Independence, of course, in 1776, and their political careers were often intertwined. Well, 50 years after that declaration, remarkably, both men died, Jason, on July 4th.
What a day to die on.
They died on July 4th. Isn't that weird? And the same day, exactly 50 years after the signing, they both died
of the declaration.
Day. But what are those odds? Can you think about this document? Probably the most. Is there a document that's more famous than this document in the world?
I don't know of one.
We don't even have the original Bible. We don't have the original manuscript. This thing actually exists. Like you can look at this thing. It actually exists.
I think there's a few of them. I'm not sure if there's an original, and maybe people will know, but I think they did it a couple times.
National Treasure, I think, was one of the films. They had to steal it.
I don't know.
I think there's like a map to a treasure or something on the back of it. Classic. I love how the founding fathers, like, they're drafting this thing for their freedom and independence from the UK or Britain or whatever. And they're like, you know what we should do? We should throw a treasure map on the back. Thomas was like, come on, John. What do you? It'd be fun for people. Let's throw out a couple of like pyramids and eyes. Let's just F people over a little bit. Let's get them talking. That's like the greatest prank. Can you imagine the people that made the $1 bill through the pyramid with the old CNI just to mess with your heads 100 years later?
They have no idea about the Illuminati, like nothing. Complete coincidence that has anything to do with.
Or they know it does. They
know, but they know that America has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, they could just say, wouldn't this be funny? Just put a Masonic symbol. It means we don't care, but I'm just making artwork for this bill. Like throw out some Masonic symbology on there. Anyways, okay. So, Jay, this is crazy. They both died the same day, 50 years later, after they both created and signed that document. That's crazy. This is what John Adams' final words. They were, Thomas Jefferson survives. So here's John Adams saying,
that's crazy.
This guy beat me. But not only were those very poignant that he would say that, because he was unaware that Thomas Jefferson had passed away just hours earlier. So he thought his buddy.
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
He thought Thomas beat him or lived longer, but unbeknownst to him, because, word didn't travel back then the way it does today. There's no Twitter or updates or, who knows? It could have been, even if they're just 50 miles apart, it takes time to get word to somebody. He didn't know that his friend and colleague and collaborator had died just hours earlier. He's like, that idiot beat me to it. I'm dying first. But he actually won. So there you go. So their deaths on such a symbolic date underscored their lasting impact on American history, linking their legacies forever to the nation's founding. Jason, this is something I would never, until we did our research, I did not know that
I had no
these
idea.
two people had died. Not only had they died together on the same day who drafted this declaration, but they died on July 4th. It's all crazy to me. It's all crazy.
And one referenced the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine? It's like, oh, wait, we wanted to tell you that. Oh, okay. All right.
No, you're wrong. You actually lived longer than Jefferson.
Yeah. Jay, you have the last one, another presidential one.
Okay. On August 28th, 1963, Martin Luther King delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington. This powerful plea for racial equality became a cornerstone of the civil rights movement. Exactly 45 years later, on August 28th, 2008, Barack Obama accepted the Democratic nomination for president, making history as the first Black nominee of a major U.S. political party. The symbolism of these two events was not lost on the nation. Civil rights leaders, including Congressman John Lewis, who had marched alongside King, viewed Obama's nomination as a monumental step toward realizing King's dream. The date serves as a powerful reminder of the progress made and the work still needed to achieve true equality.
Obviously, a very powerful one. This was not really funny. It's just good. Just good stuff. Obama was an interesting president. I mean, I'm not going to obviously get political. We try to stay away from politics on the show, obviously, because we have, both sides of the aisle listen to our show, and we're an entertainment show too. But that being said, yeah, Obama, I'll say this about Obama. Like, I didn't always agree with everything he said or did. I'm a Canadian anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But I always say this about him. He looked like a president. He talked like a president. Oh, talking like this. The way he spoke and the way he acted, he was in shape. He was vibrant. He had a family. And, he's the first Black president too. It's pretty crazy. All these things were just like, wow, this guy, he seems like he knows what he's doing. Now, I don't know if he knows what he's doing. I don't know enough to even speak one way or the other. But at least the appearances, if you were like an alien race coming down to look at the presidents of the world at the time or leaders of the world, you saw this guy running the country, not knowing what the policies are, just the way he acts. He acted presidential. I don't know. That's just my feelings on it. He just seemed to act like a president.
Yeah, in front of the cameras, he definitely acted presidential.
That's what I mean. If you're just watching what you see. But anyways, Obama, interesting character. But
I mean, as a country trying to heal and from the racial inequality that many have experienced, that seems to be a huge step forward in showing that maybe that page has turned on history, at least a little bit.
All right. That being said, Jason, let's pick what we think is the worst. And I kind of feel bad that we kind of have even number 10 because that's my pick is Brock's, because nothing against him, but this was a manufactured coincidence. And I think even during our research, I was having a hard time finding the 10th coincidence because we like to have a number 10. So I have to admit, maybe this one wasn't the best one. I almost went just to 9 and keeping this one out. So I will have a second pick because this one, it was more manufactured. I think it's great. I think that I like how they put it together. The I Have a Dream speech, and then 45 years later, he's accepted as a Democratic nomination. It's very symbolic, very poignant. I get it. This is a big moment in American history and politics. Again, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. This is still very big, the idea that we have our first Black president, or they have their first Black president. So all that being said, it was kind of manufactured. That's why
I agree. Number one with the pick. I also would suggest that it's not a coincidence. It was designed.
Yeah,
to happen that way.
Maybe which one is like kind of the worst as far as like, oof. This one's tough. So I think this is the most manufactured coincidence. But I think for worst pick as far as tragic, if you want to go, because there's a lot of tragic ones. I have to say Theodore Roosevelt, because he's the survivor. Like the twins dying is pretty crazy. Yes, they're survived by their family. I get that, but my heart broke for Roosevelt. I didn't know this story till the research. So the fact that he lost his mother and wife, the mother of his young child, all within a couple hours of each other, and his words, "The light has gone out of my life" in his diary. Boy, my heart broke for Roosevelt. So again, for the most tragic coincidence, I'm gonna have to go with Roosevelt.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that one. You can't put that. How do you put that in perspective of life, right? Like, and the chances, and on Valentine's Day,
right?
I suspected they celebrated Valentine's Day back then.
I think so. Yeah, good question.
Because it's been around. It's like a historical. I'm sure the origins of Valentine's Day has been around for like ever.
One thing we didn't talk about during all of this, we've had a whole episode about this thing, Jay, is the simulation theory. And when you get stuff like this kind of stuff happening, where these crazy coincidences are like this, you almost kind of wonder, like, is life a simulation? Meaning, is this a bug in the system? These odds are so astronomical, and these are ones we even just know about. There's probably things that aren't from famous people, so to speak, but on top of it, they are famous people. So that's what even makes it more odd, or even more mind blowing.
Well, but if you string enough lives along a long enough timeline,
right?
Things that we would think of as coincidental, or like, it's probably not as mind blowing, I guess. Like, sure. 8 billion lives, each averaging about 75 years long.
Right.
That's a lot of millions and billions of life years. There's going to be these weird anomalies that we'll be experiencing. I mean, just over a long enough timeline, things like this are going to happen, right?
Yeah. Well, this was a fun episode. I think that
was good.
I mean, not fun. Some of these stories were tragic, but just the idea of how crazy these dates and incidents were. This was a fun one to research and put together. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Remember, in front of every silver lining, there's a cloud. And today, for Ryan and Jason, we both agreed that the one coincidence was a little bit too manufactured for our liking. That was the Obama coincidence. But then the most tragic, of course, was Theodore Roosevelt.